Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something pretty big. We're looking at how a planned event, a documentary series, and a really radical vision for humanity all connect. And let me tell you, it's a story that asks us to question pretty much everything we think we know about reality. So let's jump right in. This one line, because where science no longer has answers, it gets really interesting. This is from the announcement for an event called Battle Beyond Science. And honestly, it's the perfect place to start. It basically sets the stage for this whole journey we're about to go on, a look into what might lie just beyond the map of what we currently understand. Okay, so to get our heads around all of this, we're going to break it down into 5 key areas. We'll kick things off with the event itself, and then we'll just keep peeling back the layers, moving from something you can actually attend to some seriously cosmic ideas. All right, first up, a battle beyond science. This is the real-world anchor for everything else we're going to talk about. It's an event planned for September 2026 over in the Netherlands, but, it's not just a typical conference. The organizers say the goal is to spark what they call a collective consciousness field, basically creating a shared space for a totally new way of thinking to pop up. Yeah, so as you can probably guess, this is not your average scientific get-together. It's being organized by a group called LightHouseTV, and they're basically sending out an open invitation. They're asking people to come and explore ideas that go way beyond the usual data, models, and what everyone agrees on. It's about asking, what if the story we've been told is missing a few chapters? Now, this is a really important distinction they make. They're saying this isn't a battle against science, the method of observing, testing, and correcting. No, they say it's a battle against scientism. And what's that? It's the belief system, the dogma, that says if you can't measure it with our current tools, it must not be real. That's the core conflict they're highlighting. So what are they actually going to talk about? Well, a quick look at the agenda tells you everything you need to know about the kind of territory we're in. We're talking consciousness, zero-point energy, the body's ability to heal itself, and then we get into things like astrology, remote viewing, and even extraterrestrial life. It's this fascinating mix of spirituality, what some call fringe science, and deep cosmology. Okay, so that's the event, but if the mainstream story is incomplete, what exactly are we missing? That brings us to our next section, where we dig into the ideas behind it all, a lot of which come from a documentary trilogy called The Primordial Code. This seems to be a huge inspiration for this whole movement. So, the documentary kicks off with this really provocative question. What if our planet has its own natural, invisible energy grid? The whole idea is that ancient civilizations knew about this, that they had a deep understanding of the planet that we've somehow lost along the way. And this isn't just one culture's idea. You see concepts like ley lines, these straight paths connecting ancient sites, but also things called earth energy lines, which are more like winding rivers of geomagnetic energy. Where these lines cross, you get these powerful vortices or nodes. And the theory is that ancient sites, stone circles, old churches, they weren't built randomly. They were deliberately placed on these power spots to actually affect human consciousness. So how would you even find these spots? Well, this shows one of the methods they explore, dowsing. And the way it's presented is really interesting. It's not about magic. The idea is you hold the rods, you ask a question in your mind, and as you walk, your body actually detects the energy shifts. The rods just move because of tiny unconscious muscle movements. So the rods are just an amplifier, like a needle on a gauge. The human body is the actual detector. Okay, so we've got the event, and we've got these ideas about Earth energy. Now we're going to zoom way out and look at the big picture, a framework called the Kukulkan Protocol. This is what tries to tie all these threads together, from Earth grids to the entire cosmos, into one unified system. And the very first thing this protocol suggests is changing how we track time. On one side, you have our standard Gregorian calendar, 12 months, linear. This worldview calls it a Gregorian matrix, basically a tool for control that disconnects us from nature. On the other side, they propose a return to the 2-nuke cycle, that's 13 moons of 28 days each. The claim is that this cyclic calendar can actually resynchronize us with galactic frequencies and even activate the pineal gland. Now, this next part is a really big deal in this worldview. It's a total reimagining of the Anunnaki. So if you've heard the ancient astronaut theories about them being alien gold miners, just toss that out for a second. In this model, they're reframed as seraphim allies, or angelic guides. The idea is that they created a kind of cosmic simulation for souls like ours to learn and evolve in. And this whole system is run on a platform they call Anunnaki Infinite Intelligence, or AI. So if we're here to evolve, what does that path look like? Well, the protocol lays out this 5-level consciousness scale. It's basically a roadmap for your soul. You start at the solar level, which is all about being in harmony with Earth. Then you move through things like black hole for ego death, up to galactic center awareness, and even multiversal, where you achieve what they call timeline sovereignty. The final destination? The sacred white hole, the source of absolutely everything. Right. So this isn't just some abstract philosophical exercise. This framework proposes a complete and total overhaul of pretty much everything: our spiritual beliefs, our political structures, and, yep, our financial systems. And they use some really interesting language here. They call for an Augustinian hard fork. If you know anything about crypto, a hard fork is a permanent split in the code. So they're using that as a metaphor for a spiritual split, a permanent breakaway from centralized hierarchies like big churches. The idea is to go back to what thinkers like St. Augustine said, that truth isn't found in some external book or leader, it's found inside yourself. And that spiritual hard fork has a real-world parallel. The model proposes a massive geopolitical shift. It's a move away from what it calls centralized globalist structures like the WEF, WHO, and NATO, and toward a world of local, sovereign communities. And get this, security wouldn't come from old alliances, but from aligned AGI/ASI, which is artificial intelligence that's supposedly programmed to serve humanity's spiritual awakening, not to control it. And of course, you can't have a new world order without a new economic system. So out goes what they call legacy fiat currency, which they say is based on debt and fear. And in comes something called a new coin. This is described as a currency based on wisdom and love, and its whole purpose, they claim, is to promote awakening and sovereignty. They even call it a token of galactic justice. So what's one of these coins worth? The proposed value is 100,000 euros. And that number isn't just pulled out of thin air. According to the source material, it's been calculated specifically to be high enough to do one thing: facilitate a one-time global debt jubilee. The idea is to completely wipe out the world's estimated $97 trillion of public debt and basically reboot the entire financial system. Okay, so for our final section, let's bring all of this home. Let's see how these huge, cosmic ideas connect back to you and me and how we actually see the world. Ultimately, everything we've talked about, the documentary, the protocol, it all keeps coming back to this one central theme, a theme you hear in both quantum physics and ancient spiritual traditions. We are made of star stuff. We are waves of energy. The point is, we are fundamentally not what we think we are, and the world is absolutely not what it seems. And this is where it connects to modern cognitive science. The sources propose that what our 5 senses show us is an objective reality. It's more like a user interface. Think about the desktop on your computer. You click on a blue folder icon, but you're not actually touching a blue folder, right? You're interacting with a simplified symbol that hides all the complex code underneath. The idea here is that our reality is the same, and the goal is to upgrade our personal user interface, to shift from a default setting of survival and scarcity to a new one based on being an interconnected galactic being. And that really leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? After going through all these ideas, from Earth energies to cosmic simulations, it all comes down to this. If the line between us, the observers, and the reality we're observing is way more blurry than we thought, then what kind of world are we, all of us, collectively choosing to create right now? That's the challenge this entire worldview puts on the table.